As our last example of using for loops to create vectors, we are going to look at some students and their quiz scores, and our ultimate goal is going to be to generate a vector containing the student IDs of all students who passed the quiz, and a separate vector containing the student IDs of all students who failed the quiz. Alright, but we'll kind of build up to that, okay? So here we go. Let's clear CLC, and we'll need a vector of student IDs. So let's say that our student IDs are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. And then here are the corresponding quiz scores. So let's say it's quiz 1. Those scores are 9, 8, 6, 5, 10, and 7. Okay, and then we'll say that passing is 7 or higher out of 10. Okay, and then failing is 6 or lower. Alright, so let's start by using, use a for loop to count the number of students who passed and the number of students who failed. Okay, and we'll get that code written first, and then we'll modify it so that we're creating the vectors of student IDs, of students who passed, and students who failed. Alright, so first of all, for counting things, we need variables to count with. So let's do num pass and set that equal to 0, and num fail and set that equal to 0. Alright, and then let's write our for loop. So we're going to do for k equals 1 to length of, either of the vectors would be fine, right, because they're the same length. So k is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as it loops, right, because there are 6 students. And then we're going to say if quiz 1 element k is greater than or equal to 7, that means the student passed, right? So we'll bump num pass up by 1. So num pass equals num pass plus 1. Else, so if they didn't get greater than or equal to 7, it means they got a failing grade, so we'll bump num fail up by 1. So num fail would be num fail plus 1. Okay, so we end if else, and then we end the for. Okay, and then we could have MATLAB display to us num pass and num fail. Okay, so let's just look at the scores ourselves and decide what we think MATLAB should tell us. So pass, 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 pass. So num pass should be 4 and num fail should be 2. Okay, so let's give it a try. So sure enough, our counting is good. Num pass is 4 and num fail is 2. Alright, so maybe the most straightforward thing to do would be to copy this code. Let's put a note here that says want to create a vector of student IDs for students who passed the quiz, and create a second vector of student IDs for students who failed the quiz. And for this first go, we're going to use concatenation to create the vectors. Okay? Alright, so here's our existing code. That's a really good starting place. Okay? So if the student passed, we want to add their student ID to some vector. Okay? So let's call that vector pass students. And we're using concatenation, so that should save you square brackets. Okay? So pass students will be whatever is currently in pass students plus the student ID of the student that we're currently looking at, right? So the one corresponding to K. So that would be student IDs indexed with k. And then likewise down here, fail students will be whatever's currently in that vector, fail students, and then we'll concatenate on student IDs element k. Alright, now I just realized that after this clear CLC we're going to need to create our student IDs and quiz 1 vectors again, so let's be sure to get that in there. Okay, so let's go ahead and try. I'm missing a square bracket there, that's not good. Let's try to run this. Alright, and I got a message that says undefined function or variable pass student. So I made my favorite mistake. I forgot to initialize the vectors up here. So pass students is equal to an empty vector, and fail students also equal to an empty vector. Okay, run section. Okay, so no errors at least, and now I didn't ask it to show me pass students and fail students, so let's add that and run the section. Okay, so the students who passed have ID numbers 2, 4, 10, and 12, and the students who failed have ID numbers 6 and 8. Now we could also have made vectors of the passing scores and the failing scores, so maybe let's do that for fun. So let's do pass scores is equal to an empty vector. And then in the if, we would say pass scores is equal to quiz. We're going to concatenate with square brackets, right? So we're going to take whatever's currently in pass scores and add to it quiz 1 element k. And then down here we would do fail scores and take what is currently in fail scores and add to it quiz 1 element k. Alright, and so then down here we could do pass students, pass scores, and fail students, fail scores, and run that. Oh dear, what did I do? Oh, I didn't. How did I forget that? Okay, fail scores is an empty vector. Okay, now I feel good about that. Alright, so 4 passed, 2 failed. These are the IDs of the students who passed, the scores of the students who passed, the IDs of the students who failed, and the scores of the students who failed. Okay, so that looks great. Now, for participation credit, I am going to have you repeat the problem above. So basically you are going to do this. You're going to create a vector of student IDs for students who passed the quiz and a second vector of student IDs for students who failed the quiz, but you're going to use indexing to create the vectors. Okay? So you can go ahead and start with that code that we had that was just counting how many passed and how many failed. That's a great starting point. And then you're going to use indexing to generate the vectors of student IDs. And once you've got that, or as best as you can get it without spending a ton of time on it, I will create a Canvas assignment so that you can upload your attempt for participation credit, and then we will revisit this example in class next lecture. Alright, great. There are still a few more videos coming on a different topic, but this is the end of our videos on creating vectors using for loops. Thanks.